All right, so Halloween is almost upon us already, and we are now welcomed by Associate Professor at the Questrom School of Business at Boston University, Jay Zagorsky. Jay, thank you for joining us.
Great to be on the show.
Now, you wrote an article for our partners at the Boston Business Journal, and the title is Why is Halloween Starting So Much Earlier? Let's talk about that because we were still sweating outside and stores were starting to pull out the decorations and the pumpkins, and it was like, whoa, pump the brakes.
I started seeing giant skeletons in the middle of the summer. I was still thinking about bathing suit weather, and suddenly they were Halloween. I was like, wait, it's not fall yet.
This is what
But
I'm saying.
yeah, Halloween has gone from a relatively small holiday to a giant one. It is dramatically increased in size. We spend a lot more money now on Halloween than we did about 20 years ago. And that's for a couple of reasons. First, a lot more people are celebrating Halloween. Back about 20 years ago, slightly more than half of the people surveyed said, oh, yes, I'm going to do something for Halloween. This past year, this past September, almost three-quarters of all people said, I'm going to be doing something for Halloween. So a lot more people are celebrating the holiday, and they're spending a lot more too. When you take the survey data and you figure out how much people are spending per person, the average person who's celebrating Halloween about 20, 25 years ago was spending around $18. Today, the number's around 38. So Halloween, it's becoming a bigger part of stores' budgets.
And that's why they're trying to reel us in a whole lot sooner. So, since we're talking about the money being spent, you noted that Halloween is expected to reach $13 billion this year, billion with a B. Why do you think people feel like they need Halloween so badly? Because we know that our money habits are tied to our emotions. So we must feel like we need Halloween the way that the spending is reflecting in terms of the amount. It's kind of feeling like Christmas before Christmas.
I think there's a couple of reasons. One reason is the rise of social media. People are always looking for things that will get them attention. And Halloween, what could be better? A couple of years ago, they actually did some surveys and they found that people were spending about half billion, that's with a B, dollars on pet costumes, dogs, cats, and other types of pets just at Halloween. Wow. But what's better than getting traction on Instagram with things like a picture of your dog dressed up as Darth Vader or as a pirate? So, because of the rise of social media, people are looking for ways in order to get great photographs. And Halloween, what could be better than dressing up? The other reason, I think, and I can't find any data to prove this, is we're becoming a more heterogeneous society. We're becoming a more mixed society. And Halloween, it's a great holiday that really doesn't have any religious overtones anymore. It used to be a holiday that had religious overtones, but right now it's a holiday for dressing up, getting candy, and maybe frightening somebody. So it's a holiday that if you happen to have a religiously mixed family, could be great to celebrate.
Now, in addition to those two reasons, do you think maybe all of the excitement around Halloween may also kind of be a product of both the unsettling times that we're living in and then just the lingering effects of the pandemic, right? Like trying to still make up for any lost time.
I think so. I think trying to make up for lost time is a great idea. One of the ideas of Halloween is basically just having fun. There aren't that many holidays on the calendar where it's just all about having fun and dressing up. But what's really great about Halloween is that it's been starting earlier and earlier. And one of the reasons it's been starting earlier is that stores don't want to be caught with large amounts of, say, skeleton costumes or pirate costumes. So if people are spending a lot of money, you want to start a holiday earlier in the shopping cycle so that if you don't sell everything off by the end, you can start discounting. It's why we see winter coats suddenly showing up in September and why we see
Mm-hmm.
bathing suits showing up in February.
Mm-hmm.
Because the longer the season, more likely it is for the stores to be able to sell everything off.
Hmm. Okay, so strategy from the store's point of view.
Yes, indeed.
Okay. And now we mentioned the skeletons, we talked about the costumes, but you know what? People are also spending a good amount on money too. Candy imports have tripled as well over these past 2 decades.
And 2 decades ago in September, just in the month of September, we were importing about 250 million, that's with an M, dollars worth of candy. Last September, we imported over $750 million worth of candy.
Oh my
Wow,
gosh.
big increase from 250 million to 750 million in just a single month. But I think Americans have a sweet tooth, and some of that imported candy, especially the new candies coming in from like Dubai or from Switzerland, they're delicious.
Yeah, and you know, when something is different and new, you want to try it. So, because the Dubai chocolate has my name written all over it. So I totally understand. But now, all of this holiday creep is really having retailers try to sell that stuff, as you were saying, sell their inventory as fast as they can. Do we think that it's mostly still focused on like that business strategy? Is it less about the customers and what they might want? Is it all solely just the strategy that you were explaining?
I think really customers are driving the holiday of Halloween. I don't think this is a retail driven holiday. I think that customers are really looking for, and people in general, are looking for a fun time in unsettled times when, you're not really sure what's going to happen to the economy or politically or anything else in the country. Sometimes you just want a night off. And Halloween, it's a great time.
Now, do you see an end to this Halloween creep in sight, or at some point is shopping for Halloween and maybe end of June, early July? Like, is that gonna just be our norm at some point?
Halloween started off 20, 25 years ago small. Today it's large. And I predict if you and I talk in 20 years from now, I'll have to have a Halloween jack-o'-lantern that's so big that it would fill the entire screen. I think Halloween's going to keep on growing. It's one of the holidays that I'm looking out for.
Okay. Is there anything you want to make sure that you share about this topic that I didn't ask you specifically?
I don't think so. Yesterday I did an interview with somebody who wanted to talk about cavities because I wrote about cavities a couple of years ago, and at the end of the interview, I was like, nobody wants to talk about cavities. That's a downside of a fun holiday. Yeah.
I mean, it's not the downside for the dentist's office,
Oh,
but
actually, that's what I pointed out a couple of years ago. The dentists really love this holiday, just like other
I bet they
retailers.
do.
But in general, I thought about it. I was actually talking to the Globe, and the lady was really, oh, tell me more about the dentist. I was like, nobody wants to hear about cavities. You want to go out and have a good time, stuff your face with all kind of fun Dubai chocolates or Swiss chocolates.
That is so funny. Well, I always like to make sure I ask because sometimes it'll be like, oh, yeah, there was this one more point. So I always like to make sure I let you get
It,
all of the
it,
good stuff out.
if you want one quick soundbite, the quick soundbite is what I've noticed over time is that Halloween has become far more professional. What do I mean by that? People, when I was growing up, used to make their own costumes. They used to make their own treats to hand out. Today, you don't see anyone handing out homemade treats, and you see very few people in homemade costumes. And that is, I think, partly due to social media, that people are looking for the best photos. And there's also a concern over health issues. People want to make sure if before they put any food in their mouth, does it have nuts? Does it have wheat? Does it have any of these other kind of things? So Halloween, it's becoming a lot more professional over time.
That's the first time I've heard it described that way. But as you were saying, and I was like, you're right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know what Europe is like, but nobody had a professional costume, 40 years ago when I was trick-or-treating. And today, a homemade costume, you look at a person and go, wow, that's homemade. No way.
No, that is very true. That's very true. I had never heard it described that way before. Well, Associate Professor Jay Zagorsky from the Questrom School of Business at Boston University. Thank you for joining us.